All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 24th Annual Candidates Forum here at the Wadsworth Public Library. We have the great honor here at the Wadsworth Public Library of holding this forum every year for the last 24 years, and I've heard a lot of feedback since I've been here for the last 3 from people who've been in the community many years that this is considered one of the best forums for a candidate to get the word out, because our approach here is to have a discussion about the positions and not about the people. And what we're doing tonight is having a civil discussion about the issues and the positions and not about the people. This honor and privilege for the library is consistent with the deep tradition of the American Public Library, which takes us all the way back to the founding of this country, representative democracy itself, and an informed, thoughtful citizenry, which is absolutely necessary for its proper functioning. In this process, the library has a difficult job of establishing a big tent, and we need your cooperation in that tonight. This evening is not about debate. It is about a dialogue between you, the voters in the audience, and the candidates who have put their own necks on the line to serve our community here in local elected office. Next candidate is Steve Hambley for the 69th District State Representative seat.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here. As many of you know, I was a county commissioner for 18 years, also a retired college professor, but over the last year and 10 months, I've been honored to represent the 69th District in the Ohio House. What's been going on? Well, we've had over 600 bills, House bills introduced, and over 350 Senate bills to be considered by the General Assembly. The House has passed 179 House bills and 40 Senate bills. I have been the primary sponsor of 11 bills and co-sponsor of over 120. What have we actually accomplished? In many of these bills, we have cut taxes for Ohio small business owners and families by $1.2 billion. We've increased the state rainy day fund to almost $2 billion. We enacted House Bill 264, which provided for back-to-school 3-day sales tax holiday for school supplies. We enacted House Bill 390 more recently, which paid off the federal unemployment insurance debt, saving $400 million in penalties that employers would have had to pay. We've increased state aid for primary and secondary education by over $850 million. We added nearly $230 million to higher education. We've also instituted very important charter school reform, House Bill 2, which increased oversight focusing on transparency, responsibility, and accountability of the charter schools. Napoleon Hill, a famous writer, once wrote, "Patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success." I have seen that work firsthand in the Ohio House. I want to continue working in the Republican majority to reduce state tax burden on families and businesses, promote legislation that furnishes local governments with more options instead of fewer. In addition, my relentless support for our local public schools and the additional reforms to the charter school system will be among my highest priorities. Lastly, with the help of the leaders of Columbus, we need to provide additional resources and help for law enforcement, for our communities and our families as they battle the scourge of opiate addictions. I ask for your support on November 8th that we can continue working on these important issues facing this district and the state of Ohio. Thank you.
Frank Zona for the 69th District State Representative seat.
Hi everyone, I'm Frank Zona, and I'm running for the State House. Let me tell you why. First, I want to thank you all so much for being here, especially my family. I'm running to represent real people. I want to earn your vote on Election Day, not because of party, but because you know in your heart that I'm not going to rest until I've done good by you. This campaign is not about my opponent or titles. In fact, I like and respect my opponent. I do. This campaign is about responsiveness. I believe accountability to people is what we need most right now. Let's start with education. $2.4 million of your taxes for local schools was redirected to corporations. Property taxes have soared. Our schools are rated better, yet for-profit charters cost us $7,000 a student. Ours cost $4,000. Every superintendent I've met is against charters. They know the horror stories. It's an outrage and tragedy to take a child's opportunities for profit. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Ohio Federation of Teachers. Let's lower taxes, make sure our children's education is world-class, cost-effective, and not dictated by corporate boards. And how about the drug crisis in our state? More die from overdoses than car crashes. It's an emergency. These are real people. Every single one is a story. Some people have said that resources in the county and the state are adequate. I disagree. I'm proud to have the support of emergency room doctors and the endorsement of the Fraternal Order of Police. If you want to turn drugs in, seek treatment, turn your life around, you should be able to. I know good people, all ages and backgrounds, who are beating the heroin crisis every single day. It's time to support them and make every penny count. Safe drinking water, pipeline safety, fighting for animal abuse, protecting property rights, it all needs leadership. So does creating jobs and supporting small business. Having a family business, I know financial decisions when you have a family, and as the son of 2 Army veterans, I know what it means to need to trust that your leadership has your back no matter what. As a neuroscientist, I've represented us at scientific conferences where Alzheimer's, MS, and cancer are around the corner. I work from evidence. I know what it means to bring it to the State House. I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we're going to start. This is very difficult. We're going to start here with the 2 candidates for the Ohio 69th District State House. What steps will you take to make public education a world-class option for our children? Instead of charter schools was the phrasing of the question. And we will begin with the first of 2 candidates, and Steve Hambley did draw first. So, Steve.
Actually, I've had a long history of supporting public education. As county commissioner, we helped put on the ballot in 2007 a sales tax for schools, and I've continued to be a proponent of public schools. And I think one of the best ways to do that is we have a problem with the overregulation of public schools. We've taken away the power from the teachers and the administrators and from the parents, most of all. We overtest, we overregulate, and it just drives up the cost. We've decreased the quality, and we basically have increased the cost of education. One of the ways to do that, well, I have House Bill 212, which I was a co-sponsor of, that returns that local control back to curriculum and personnel and testing, as well as other aspects of running public education back to the local school districts. Returning power to the local school districts is a way to bring back the classroom quality and education we had that when I was going through it and when many of you were going through it. We had good quality schools, good quality teachers. We had excellent schools, and unfortunately, we have an I'll just say an over rigorous approach at the top. When it comes to charter schools, I believe that people ought to have options. I think that when it comes down to it, the parents. I lived where I lived about 30-some years. I've put about $70,000 of taxes. If I had children, I would have liked to have a choice as to where those children go and to be able to utilize some of that money. The question is what is a fair amount? Unfortunately, we do need to reform how we fund charter schools and community schools. We need to change that pass-through system. That's one of the reasons why the Ohio Education Association endorsed me and not my opponent. Thank you.
So I appreciate the question because I am a graduate of Highland High School, which is a public school. I agree, need to have innovation in our schools. And I talk to teachers all the time, both in higher education and our public schools. Some of them are in this room. I have the endorsement of the Ohio Federation of Teachers. The reason is because they know that there is always more we can do to innovate, to integrate the latest strategies, and I absolutely believe in that 100%. The problem is that the charter schools system, the way it functions, is taking away from the public school experience. And that is because in Highland, $250,000 were sent to charter schools, $768,000 from Cloverleaf to charter schools, $1 million from Brunswick and Medina schools sent to charter schools. And right here in Wadsworth, $438,000 last year sent from our public schools to charter schools. These charter schools are trying to reinvent the wheel. If you want to go to a private school, if you want to be homeschooled, you can do that. And there are existing voucher programs that are excellent. But right now, as it stands, money is being taken both from the state budget as well directly from our schools. And as I said earlier, that's at the cost of $7,000 a student to these charter schools. It costs us $4,000 to educate our kids here at home. There is nothing that those charter schools can do that we can't do here in our local schools, and that's a testament to our teachers, and I'm proud of that, and that's true in our community too. And so I believe that we need to make sure we're supporting our public schools. If we do so, we absolutely can have quality education at the public school level. And anybody in here, if you doubt it, take a look at Highland, because it was just rated as one of the best schools in the country, and I'm very proud of that, and that's a testament to Highland schools as well. So when it comes to making public schools great, I think that they are great. I think that we can innovate, but we're not going to do that by sucking money out of their resources that they desperately need. So let's make sure we support our public schools, and we don't try to reinvent the wheel on school choice. So thank you all so much.
Is addressed again to candidates for the 69th District State Representative seat. And we are going to begin in the order of Steve Hambley and then Frank Zona. And this question is for each candidate. Please tell us what your greatest professional achievement was and how does it relate to the office you're seeking and what you're trying to accomplish.
Thank you for that question. I think I almost, in my prior question, I kind of mentioned one of the things that we did as in the Board of Commissioners was we gave to the people the ability to take a look at how to fund our public schools and to take a look and for capital improvements. That was a 0.5% sales tax for 30 years I think that has benefited the schools immensely. I know when I went to the schools before and afterwards and as state representative, likewise been involved in meeting monthly with the superintendents. Time and time again, they would tell how beneficial that funding source has been. Then when we had the recession, and then when the budgets had to be cut by the state government, by the General Assembly, everybody had to feel the pain. And that helped save our schools because they were able to make the capital investments they needed in terms of technology and long-term equipment. We're talking about busings and as well as school books and buildings and so forth that they didn't have before. And they're able to maintain that. And we, in many ways, I understand school boards, they have this balance. They have to balance their operating budget with their capital budget. But time and time again, they would sacrifice what they had to do for the capital in order to meet the operating expenses, the teacher salaries, and all the other operating costs. But here they had a source of money that they could be guaranteed they could bond against, and then you see the wonderful resources that you have here in Wadsworth, the high school, the recreation center, you have everything else that's tied to that, Summa Health and so on. Their ability to put that money and leverage it, and as a state representative, as I said, I meet with them monthly, and I'm always looking at the opportunities to assist them to help do even a better job and utilize the money that they get from the taxpayers, but make sure that it's just not all one resource and that there is flexibility in terms of funding. So as a state legislature, one thing I learned as a county commissioner is listen to the superintendents, listen to the school board, listen to the parents, and listen to the teachers about what's needed, and try to implement that either in law or in practice. Thank you.
I'm a scientist. I studied neuroscience and psychology, and I'm very proud of what I've been able to do at Baldwin-Wallace University as a part of that, as part of their programs. I'm most proud of the research that I've done there because it impacts so many different fields. I did original research similar to work done at the University of Chicago relating to anxiety, student anxiety, and math performance in the classroom. We're working on publishing that research, and it could have profound impacts on the way students perform in the classroom and real-life implications for it. I'm also very proud of the work that I've done in neurobiology and the topic of neurodegeneration, making small contributions to the discoveries we will need to cure Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, cancer, serious diseases that we are able to cure. I presented this research at international conferences with the people, the big-name people who are making those advances that we see in the news. I'm very, very proud to have been able to represent our state, our community, and my university in doing so. I've been a teaching assistant at Baldwin-Wallace, and I've had opportunities through the National Eagle Scout Association to participate in global research. This past summer, I had the opportunity, we were just discussing it, to study with Dr. Lee Berger in South Africa on work that he's doing on the discoveries, redefining our understanding of our history as human beings. I've been especially proud of the community involvement I've had opportunities for speaking with students here about their hopes to get involved in research and their hopes to make contributions to the research that so many people have gotten me in the position to try to contribute to. I won't deny that there are plenty of past contributions in this district to education, but the focus that I have right now is what superintendents and teachers are asking for right now, today, for their students. My professional achievements in research have had and will have direct impacts on the way students learn, on the way that they perform. I hope that we can accomplish much in the future through my professional work, but it has best enabled me to hear from educators, people who have been in the classroom, similar to people that I've worked with, on what we need to do right now in our public schools, and I'm very, very proud of that.
Okay, this is going to be our final question of the night, and then I'll provide some concluding remarks here. This question is addressed to the State House of Representative candidates. What is your stance on restoring power to the Humane Society to appoint special prosecutors to animal and child abuse cases? And we are going to begin here with, let's see. We'll begin with, again, with Steve Hambley and followed by Frank Zona, 2 minutes each, please.
At this point in time, under House Bill 60, which was Goddard's bill, actually it eliminated the ability for the Humane Society, which is a nonprofit organization, to appoint a prosecutor prosecuting laws that are involve felony. This sounds like maybe a question for the county prosecutor to answer as well. But in that particular case, it involves any kind of a felony in terms of a companion animal, a domestic animal, that it would have to be a public prosecutor. I'm a strong believer. The County Commissioners Association of Ohio, the Ohio Public Defenders organization, you've got the public prosecutors, you've got the number of agencies and organizations have had some concerns with private entities having the ability to hire an attorney and be able to have that attorney work solely for that nonprofit organization. Its laws have been in place since the 1952, actually in the mid-1950s. I do have a bill that's going through the House where we've reached some compromises, and we've eliminated any reference to the prosecution of that, because House Bill 60 has addressed many of the issues that were involved when it came to humane societies. The bill that I'm speaking of that's on its way in the committee deals with a number of issues. Accountability. Do you know it is legal to bribe a humane officer? There's nothing there, and that's subject to bribery laws, as well as there's no accountability in terms of when we talk about who they answer to. So the bill we're talking about in terms of humane societies is making sure that the money they get from the county commissioner is accounted for, is told how they use it, that their enforcement activity, that the humane officer is doing a good job, the reports on an annual basis to the sheriff, so that the law enforcement likewise knows what's going on. The bill, both bills that are involving humane society, involving the prosecution, were endorsed by some people such as Dennis Hanwell, also Greg Huber, who's the law director for the city of Medina, as well as a city manager. We had a number of associations likewise weigh in on this. So this is an area that's very complicated in the 1950s, but we now have a bill that the humane societies are now endorsing. We're going to be having hearings on it, hopefully during lame duck, and be able to get it on the House floor sometime in November or December. Thank you.
Regarding special prosecutors and addressing animal abuse generally, I want to speak to the quality of our peace officers, our SPCA representatives, the people who work for the humane societies. You do not go in to a career to try to stop the abuse of animals unless you genuinely care about preventing it. And I think that drawing allusions to bribery or anything like that is totally inappropriate. I've spoken to the people who work at the Humane Societies and the SPCA in this county and in other counties. They are very proud of the work that they've done. There are bills on the floor, one of which was mentioned, to eliminate special prosecutors, as well as to remove the enforcement abilities for those humane societies. I can tell you this is going to have one effect, and that is more animal abuse in our county and other counties. That's the reality. Our prosecutors have serious work to do. We need to be able to allow our prosecutors outside expertise. The special prosecutor who is responsible for this region, who's tried cases in this region, has tried in a third of the counties in the state of Ohio. That's an expert. And if you have a case in front of a court to address animal abuse, we owe it to the dignity of ourselves and to the animals and the pet owners of the county and human dignity at large to make sure that we are investigating that case fully and to make sure that if there's a serious case of animal abuse, it gets prosecuted. Taking away those abilities for whatever reason is not appropriate. I would be hard-pressed to find any reason that should be removed completely. If there could be more review about how exactly these agency works, that's one thing, but I've spoken to them, and the bottom line is, any single case of alleged mismanagement, I've spoken to the people who brought those cases and are working with my opponent on the bills. They have had adequate notification. I investigated this matter. I spoke to the Humane Societies. I'm aware of what the procedures are in place. Eliminating those is not going to make us any better. How we treat animal abuse, the seriousness with which we take animal abuse, says something about us, and I'm going to stand for that in the State House. Thank you.